The transport ship came out of faster-than-light travel with a flash of blue light. Inside the command center of Orbital Station Harmony 7, every screen showed the same thing. The ship was black, shaped like a knife, and it moved through space like a predator swimming through dark water. Kim Do-eun stood at the main window and watched it approach. He was the station administrator, a man of 43 years with gray hair at his temples and calm eyes that had seen many strange things in space. But even he felt his heart beat a little faster today. The Rakari were coming. Park Yuna stood beside him. She was the cultural liaison officer, which meant her job was to help different species understand each other. She was 31 years old, with short black hair and a smile that made everyone feel welcome. Today, that smile was nervous. 300 years, she said quietly. 300 years they stayed alone on their planet. They killed anyone who came close. And now they want to talk. Kim Do-eun nodded. The galaxy changes. Even hunters get lonely. The docking process took 1 hour. Station security stood ready at every door. The other alien species on the station had locked themselves in their quarters. The Venari, small creatures with big eyes and soft fur, had already sent 17 complaints to the station office. The Torvians, large and military, stood guard but looked uncomfortable. Everyone knew what the Rakari were. They were the galaxy's most perfect predators. 8 feet tall when they stood on their back legs. Covered in black fur that seemed to eat light. Claws that could cut through metal. Eyes that could see in complete darkness. For thousands of years, they had hunted across their planet, and when they got space travel, they hunted across the stars too. Until 20 years ago, when they suddenly stopped. They went quiet. They closed their borders. And now, for reasons nobody understood, they wanted to join the Galactic Council. The airlock opened with a hiss of air. First Hunter Vorath walked through first. She was enormous, nearly 9 feet tall, with fur the color of deep space and eyes like golden fire. She wore no clothes except for bands of metal around her arms that showed her rank. When she moved, every muscle under her fur flowed like water. Behind her came 2 adult Rakari guards. And behind them came 3 smaller shapes. The cubs. Kim Do-eun had read the reports. He knew Vorath was bringing her children. But reading about it and seeing it were different things. Each cub was the size of a large tiger from Earth. Their fur was softer than the adults, dark gray instead of black, and their eyes were wide with curiosity. They looked around the station with wonder, their ears turning in every direction to catch sounds. "Administrator Kim," Vorath said. Her voice was deep, like thunder far away. "I am First Hunter Vorath of the 3rd Moon Pack. I thank you for allowing us on your station." Kim Do-eun bowed his head in respect. "First Hunter, you honor us. Welcome to Harmony 7. The cubs pushed forward, their noses twitching. The smallest one, Mox, sniffed at Park Yuna's shoes. She held very still. "Mox," Vorath said sharply. "Do not hunt the liaison officer." "I was not hunting," Mox said. His voice was young and curious. "She smells interesting. Like flowers and something sweet." Park Yuna laughed nervously. "That would be my shampoo. And the candy I had for breakfast." The cub's ears went forward with interest. "Candy?" asked the middle cub, Bren. "Sugar treats," Park Yuna explained. "Humans eat them for fun." The oldest cub, Kira, tilted her head. She was nearly as big as the adult guards already, and she had intelligent eyes that watched everything. "You eat things for fun? Not for energy?" "Sometimes both," Park Yuna said. Vorath made a sound in her throat. "Enough questions. We have diplomatic meetings to attend." The next 3 days were filled with meetings, documents, and careful conversations. The Rakari wanted to join the Galactic Council, but many species were afraid. How could they trust hunters? What would stop the Rakari from seeing them as prey? Varth was patient. She explained that her people had changed. The hunting had become empty. They wanted something more. They wanted to be part of the galaxy, not feared by it. The diplomats talked and talked. And while they talked, the three cubs grew bored. Park Yuna found them on the third day, hiding behind a water recycling unit in Corridor 7. They were practicing stalking, sneaking up on each other and pouncing. When they saw her, they froze. "We are not causing trouble," Kira said quickly. "I know," Park Yuna said. She sat down on a cargo box. "You're just bored." Ren's tail swished. "The meetings are very long, and there is nothing to do here." "Nothing to hunt," Mox added sadly. Park Yuna thought about this. She looked at the cubs, at their playful energy, at the way they practiced jumping and stalking, even when they had nothing to chase. And then she remembered something. Her calendar. The date. October 28th. 3 days until Halloween. A smile spread across her face. It was not a small smile. It was the kind of smile that changed things. "What if I told you," she said slowly, "the humans have a special night. A night where we celebrate hunting and fear and scary things. A night where we dress up as monsters and prowl through the dark." The cubs stared at her. Their golden eyes went wide. "Tell us more," Kira breathed. Park Yuna leaned forward. "It is called Halloween, and I think you three would be very, very good at it." She took the idea to Administrator Kim Do-won that evening. He listened with his hands folded, his face showing nothing. "You want to teach alien apex predators about Halloween," he said flatly. "It would be good for cultural exchange," Park Yuna argued. "The cubs are bored and restless. This would give them something to do. Something fun, something that might help the other species see them differently, or it might cause a panic. There is always that risk with new things." Kim Do-won was quiet for a long moment. Then he sighed. "Keep it small. Just the cubs and a few human children. Nothing too scary." Park Yuna nodded eagerly. Of course, small, simple. Nothing could go wrong. She was very, very wrong about that. But she did not know it yet. 3 days until Halloween. The station had no idea what was coming. Part 2. Preparations and Panic. The word spread through the station like fire through dry grass. The humans were planning something. Something involving the Rakari cubs. Something called Halloween. Big Jiwoo was the first to get excited. He was the cargo specialist, a big man with strong arms and a soft heart. In his free time, he made costumes. His small room was full of fabric, fake fur, and glowing lights. When Park Yuna told him about Halloween, his eyes lit up. "I have been waiting years for this," he said. "Finally, aliens who might actually enjoy being scary." Han Seon, the station chef, was equally excited. She was a small woman with quick hands and a creative mind. She started planning immediately. Eyeball soup, finger cookies, blood red punch, foods that looked scary but tasted sweet. "The cubs will love it," she said. Children always love gross food. But not everyone shared their excitement. Ambassador Trilix was the first to complain. He was a Venari, one of the small, furry, big-eyed species that looked like something between a rabbit and a hamster. His people had been prey for millions of years. They survived by being careful, by running, by hiding. The idea of celebrating fear was completely alien to him. "This is madness," he said in Administrator Kim Do-han's office. His voice was high and scared. "The humans are teaching the Rakari to hunt. They are training them. This Halloween is a hunting festival." Kim Do-han rubbed his forehead. "Ambassador, Halloween is a children's holiday. It is about costumes and candy." "I read the translation," Trilix insisted. His whiskers trembled. "Trick or treat. The translator says it means submit offerings or face consequences. That is a threat. That is a hunting threat. Kim Do-eun made a mental note to update the translation software. Ambassador, I promise you, no one is going to be hunted. But Trilix was not the only one worried. Station Commander Grell came next. He was a Torvian, 7 feet tall, with gray skin like stone and 4 arms that could bend metal. His people were warriors, not prey. They feared nothing. But even he seemed uncomfortable. My soldiers are asking questions, Grell said. His voice was like rocks grinding together. They see the humans putting up decorations. Fake blood, bones, skulls. They want to know if there is going to be violence. It is pretend violence, Kim Do-eun explained. Humans like to scare each other for fun. Grell stared at him for a long time. For fun, he repeated flatly. Yes, your species is very strange. I am aware. Meanwhile, the decorations went up. Park Yuna led the effort. She brought out everything from storage. Fake spiderwebs that stretched across corridors. Plastic skeletons that hung from the ceiling. Carved pumpkins with candles inside that made scary faces glow. Black fabric that turned bright hallways into dark caves. The cubs helped. They were very good at it. Mo X found the fake blood especially interesting. It smells wrong, he said, sniffing a bottle. Real blood smells different. That is because it is made from sugar and food coloring, Park Yuna explained. Can I taste it? Yes, but it might ruin real blood for you forever. Mox tasted it. His face twisted. Too sweet. But I like the color. Kira and Bren worked on a haunted hallway. They had natural talent for making things scary. Kira figured out how to hide in shadows so completely that even humans could not see her until she jumped out. Bren learned to make sounds, low growls, and high screams that echoed through the metal walls. This is wonderful, Bren said happily. We are practicing hunting without actually hunting anyone. That is exactly the idea, Park Yuna said. But as the decorations grew, so did the fear. The Venari began to leave. First one family, then another, then whole groups. They packed their things and moved to the emergency shelters on the far side of the station. The shelters were designed for disasters, not holidays, but the Venari did not care. They wanted to be far away from whatever was coming. Other species followed. The Jellian traders, who looked like tall blue flowers, closed their shops and hid. The Morkith engineers, who had 6 legs and nervous personalities, stopped coming to work. Even some of the Torvians, despite their warrior pride, found excuses to be elsewhere. By October 30th, half the station was empty. First, Hunter Vareth noticed. She came to Park Yuna while the human woman was hanging fake bats from the ceiling. The prey species are fleeing, Vareth said. Her voice was calm, but her eyes were curious. They fear what we are doing. Park Yuna climbed down from her ladder. They do not understand Halloween yet. They think it is real. Is it not real? The fear is real. But it is safe fear. Controlled fear. We scare ourselves because it feels good to be scared and then be safe. Vareth was quiet for a long time. Her golden eyes looked at the decorations, at the fake blood and plastic bones and glowing pumpkins. My people, she said slowly, have spent thousands of years making others fear us. We hunted. We killed. We were proud of the fear we caused. But it was never enough. The fear always faded. The hunt always ended. We were always hungry for more. Park Yuna waited. 20 years ago, Vareth continued, I killed my last prey. A creature from a distant moon. It died afraid, as they always did. And I felt nothing. No joy, no satisfaction. Just emptiness. She looked at Park Yuna directly. That is why we stopped. That is why we came here. We hoped to find something that would fill the emptiness. And have you found it? Vorath looked at her cubs. Kira was teaching Bren how to jump out from behind a pillar. Mox was covered in fake blood and laughing, his young voice echoing through the corridor. "Perhaps," Vorath said softly. "Perhaps I have." That night, Kim Do-hyun called a meeting. The remaining station population gathered in the main hall. Humans, a few brave aliens, and the Rakari delegation. "Tomorrow is Halloween," Kim Do-hyun announced. "For those who do not know, it is a human tradition. We dress in costumes. We pretend to be monsters. Children go door to door asking for candy. It is meant to be fun." A Jellian trader raised a flower-like appendage. "Is it true that the Rakari cubs are participating?" "Yes." Murmurs spread through the crowd. Fear, curiosity, confusion. "They are children," Park Yuna added. "Like any children, they want to play. Halloween is just a game. A scary game, but still a game." Commander Grell stepped forward. His stone face showed no emotion. "My soldiers will remain on duty. If there is any real danger, we will respond." "There will be no real danger," Kim Do-hyun said firmly. He believed it when he said it. He was wrong. But the danger that was coming had nothing to do with Halloween. Hidden in a cargo container in Section 7, something stirred. Something that had been sleeping for weeks. Something hungry. The Skrull opened its many eyes in the darkness, and it began to hunt. Halloween night came with excitement and electricity in the air. The lights in Section 5 had been turned low. Orange and purple colors filled the corridors. Spooky music played from hidden speakers. The haunted hallway was ready. Choi Myri stood at the entrance of the education center, watching children gather. She was the station teacher, a woman of 35 with kind eyes and patient hands. Normally, she taught math and science. Today, she was teaching something different. "All right, everyone," she called out. "Costumes on. Let me see what you have created." The human children stepped forward one by one. Lee Soman, age 8, wore a white sheet with holes cut for eyes. A ghost, simple but classic. Her younger brother, Lee Junho, age 5, had covered himself in green paint and fake leaves. He was a swamp monster. "Very scary," Choi Myri said with approval. Other children showed their costumes. Witches with pointed hats. Vampires with plastic fangs. Skeletons with bones painted on black clothes. A robot made from cardboard boxes. A princess who insisted she was actually a zombie princess, which was much scarier. Then the Rakari cubs arrived. The room went silent. Kira, Bren, and Mox had been working on their costumes all day with help from Beak. Jiwoo. They had painted their fur with special paint that glowed in the dark. Swirling patterns of blue and green covered their bodies, making them look like ghost cats from ancient Earth stories. Their eyes, already golden, now seemed to burn with inner fire. "We are spirits of the hunt," Kira announced proudly. Big Jiwoo told us about Earth legends. Cats that walk between the living and the dead. Little Jongho stared up at them with his mouth open. "That is so cool," he whispered. Mox's tail swished happily. "You really think so?" "You look like something from my nightmares," Junho said. But in a good way. The cubs did not fully understand this, but they understood it was a compliment. Choi Myri organized everyone into groups. The plan was simple. Walk through the haunted hallway. Visit different stations where adults would give out candy. Try not to scream too much. Stay together, she instructed. Hold hands if you need to. And remember, everything scary is fake. It is just for fun. Soman raised her hand. What about the Rakari cubs? They are not fake scary. They are real scary. Kira looked at the small human girl. For a moment, something complicated moved behind her golden eyes. Pride in something else. Something softer. We will protect you, Kira said. We are scary, but we are not dangerous. Not to you. Junho immediately walked over and took Mox's paw in his small hand. The cub's paw was bigger than the boy's entire head, with claws that could cut through steel. But Mox retracted his claws carefully and held the tiny hand with impossible gentleness. See? Junho said to his sister. They are nice scary. The haunted hallway began. Park Yuna had done excellent work. The corridor was transformed. Fog rolled along the floor from hidden machines. Lights flickered and changed colors. Sounds came from everywhere, growls and creaks and distant screams that were clearly recorded, but still made hearts beat faster. The children walked forward slowly. The Rakari cubs walked with them, their glowing patterns making them look like protective spirits floating through the mist. The first scare station was the spider room. Beak Jewu had built giant fake spiders that dropped from the ceiling when people walked past. The human children screamed and laughed. The Rakari cubs did not scream, but their ears went flat and their fur puffed up. That was unexpected, Bren admitted. Well done. Han Sajin waited at the end with treats. Her eyeball soup was actually sweet grape juice with peeled grapes floating in it. Her finger cookies were sugar cookies shaped like hands. The children loved them. For you, she said to Mox, handing him a special treat. Blood pudding. Real blood pudding, not fake. Mox's eyes went wide with delight. You made this for us? Of course. Everyone deserves treats on Halloween. Meanwhile, in the emergency shelters, the evacuated aliens watched everything through security cameras. Ambassador Trilix sat at the front, his big eyes fixed on the screens. I do not understand, he said quietly. The cubs are massive. They could kill all those children in seconds. But they are holding hands. They are walking slowly. They are eating cookies. A young Venari beside him tilted her head. They look like they are having fun. That is what confuses me. On another screen, they watched First Hunter Varth. She stood at the edge of the haunted hallway, observing her cubs. Her face showed no expression, but her tail moved slowly back and forth, which Trilix had learned meant she was content. Commander Grell appeared on the shelter screens too. He was walking through the haunted hallway with a serious face, inspecting everything for real threats. A fake skeleton dropped in front of him, and he punched it so hard it broke into pieces. It is plastic, Park Yuna told him through the communicator. I noticed, Grell replied, after I destroyed it. Back in the haunted hallway, the children reached the final room. This was the big scare, the one Park Yuna had planned carefully. The room was dark and empty. The children walked in, looking around nervously. Then the lights went out completely. For 3 seconds, there was nothing. Complete darkness. Complete silence. Then a roar shook the room. First Hunter Vorth leaped from hiding. She was enormous, terrifying, a true apex predator in her full glory. Her golden eyes blazed. Her claws were extended. Her roar was the sound of death itself. The children screamed. The Rakari cubs roared back playfully. Lights came on, revealing Vorth standing in a silly pose with her tongue out. Trick or treat, she said. The children stared. Then they burst into laughter. Somin laughed so hard she fell down. Junho ran forward and hugged Voreth's leg, which was thick as a tree trunk. That was amazing, he shouted. Do it again. Voreth looked down at the tiny human child attached to her leg. Something changed in her face. The hard lines softened. The predator's edge faded. She reached down with one massive paw and gently patted Junho's head. Perhaps later, she said. Her voice was rough but warm. Park Yuna watched from the doorway, tears in her eyes. This was what she had hoped for. This moment. This connection. The galaxy's most feared hunter being hugged by a 5-year-old in swamp monster costume. "The shelters are calling," someone said through her earpiece. "The Venari want to know if they can come back. They say it looks safe." "Tell them to come," Park Yuna replied. "Tell them everyone is welcome." The party continued. More aliens arrived, curious and careful at first, then relaxing when they saw the cubs playing with the children. Trilix himself came, staying close to the walls, but watching with fascination. Everything was perfect. Then the lights went out. Not the fake darkness of the haunted hallway. Real darkness. Emergency darkness. The kind of darkness that meant something was wrong. "Power failure in Section 7, a voice announced over the station speakers. "All personnel, please remain calm." But in Section 7, 12 people were trapped. 6 human children. 3 Rakari cubs. 2 Venari tourists who had been passing through. And BG Wu, who had fallen when the lights went out and hurt his leg. And in the darkness with them, something else moved. Something that was not part of Halloween. Something real. The darkness was complete. No emergency lights. No glow from screens. Nothing but black emptiness that pressed against everyone's eyes like a heavy blanket. Big Jiwoo groaned from the floor. He had tripped over a decoration and twisted his ankle badly. The pain was sharp, but he forced himself to stay quiet. Something felt wrong. More wrong than just a power failure. The 6 human children huddled together. Soman held her brother Junho tight. The other 4, ranging from age 6 to 10, pressed close to each other. They could not see anything, but they could feel the warmth of bodies nearby. The 2 Venari tourists were making small, frightened sounds. They were not used to darkness. Their species lived on a planet with 3 suns where night never truly came. Then the cubs spoke. "Everyone stay still." Kira's voice was different. The playful, curious tone was gone. This voice was cold, sharp, the voice of a predator. "What is happening?" Soman whispered. "Something is in here with us," Kira replied. "Something that should not be here. I can smell it." "Bren, Mox, do you smell it?" "Yes," Bren said quietly. "It smells like poison and hunger." "Skrell," Mox added. The youngest cub sounded scared, but also focused. Big Jiwoo told us about them. Invasive species. Dangerous. Big Jiwoo's blood went cold. Skrell. He had seen images of them during cargo safety training. Dog-sized creatures covered in spines that dripped venom. Mindless hunters that ate anything alive. They sometimes hid in cargo containers, sleeping for months until they found prey. "How many?" he asked, keeping his voice low. "4, Kira answered. "Maybe 5. They are circling. They know we are here." In the control room, First Hunter Vorath watched her wristband communicator with frozen intensity. It connected to a device on Kira's collar, allowing her to hear everything. "My cubs are trapped with those creatures," she said. Her voice was deadly calm. Kim Do-han was shouting orders. Emergency teams were trying to restore power. Security forces were gathering. But Section 7 was on the far side of the station. It would take 15 minutes to reach it. 15 minutes is too long, Vorath growled. "The cubs can hide," Park Yuna suggested desperately. "They can stay quiet until help arrives." Vorath turned to her. In the dim light of the control room screens, the first hunter's eyes burned like twin suns. "My cubs are Rakari," she said. "We do not hide." In Section 7, Kira made a decision. "Small ones," she said to the human children. "Move to the corner. Put your backs against the wall. Do not move. Do not make sound." "Bren Mox with me. What are you going to do?" Junho asked in a tiny voice. Kira's answer was simple. "Hunt." The 3 cubs moved into the darkness. Their painted fur no longer glowed, The power failure had killed the special lights. But they did not need light. Their eyes saw heat. Their ears heard heartbeats. Their noses told them exactly where the Skrull were hiding. The children pressed against the wall. Big Jiwoo dragged himself over to them, putting his body between the children and the darkness. The Venari tourists curled into tight balls, trembling. For a long moment, there was silence, then chaos. The sounds that followed would haunt Big Jiwoo's dreams for years. Roars that shook the metal walls. High screaming from the Skrull. Impacts that made the floor vibrate. Wet sounds that he tried not to think about. Ju and Ho covered his ears. Somin held him tighter. "It is okay," she whispered. "The cats are helping us. They are keeping us safe. I am scared," Junho whimpered. "Me too. But we have to be brave. Like them." In the darkness, Kira fought. A Skrull had lunged at her, and she caught it in her claws, her massive paws moving faster than human eyes could follow. Her teeth found its throat. She tasted blood, real blood, not the sweet fake kind from the decorations. The Skrull went limp. Another Skrull jumped at Bren from behind. He spun, his tail sweeping it out of the air. Before it could recover, he was on it, his weight crushing it against the floor. Mox faced two at once. He was the smallest, the youngest, and for a moment fear touched his heart. Then he remembered something Junho had said earlier that night. Nice scary. He was not nice right now. But he would be again. After this was over. After he protected his friends. Mox roared with everything he had and threw himself at the Skrull. Through the communicator, Voreth listened to her cubs fight. Her claws had extended without her knowing it, scratching deep grooves into the control room table. Tears ran down her furred face, but she did not notice them. Park Yuna stood beside her, equally frozen. "They are so brave," she whispered. "They learned it from your children," Voreth replied. "Your human children who dress as monsters for fun, who hold hands with predators, who trust without question." Her voice cracked. "My cubs have never protected anyone before. Rakari did not protect prey. But your species taught them that strength can be used for more than killing." The sounds of battle faded. Heavy breathing filled the darkness. Then Kira's voice came through, tired but strong. "It is done. 5 Skrull. All dead." In the corner, Junho heard this and slowly uncovered his ears. "Mox," he called out softly. "Are you okay?" Footsteps approached. Large, heavy footsteps. Then warm fur pressed against the boy's side. Mox settled down next to him, purring deeply. The vibration was soothing, like a giant motor. "I am okay," Mox said. His voice was exhausted but happy. "Are you okay?" "You saved us," Junho said. He wrapped his small arms around Mox's neck. The cub's fur was wet and sticky, covered in Skrull blood. Junho did not care. "You were so cool. Like a superhero. Like a real monster." "Thank you," Mox replied. "You were very quiet and still. Very good hiding. You helped too." Junho beamed in the darkness, even though no one could see it. The lights came back on 15 minutes later. Emergency teams flooded into Section 7. They found the 12 survivors sitting together against the wall. The 6 human children, the 2 Venari tourists, Big Jiwoo with his injured leg, and 3 exhausted Rakari cubs covered in blood. The 5 dead Skrull lay scattered across the room. "Commander." Grell surveyed the scene with his stone face. "The cubs did this alone?" "They protected us," someone said firmly. "They were amazing." Kira lifted her head. Her golden eyes were dim with tiredness. "We did what was needed. They are our friends. Friends protect each other." Voreth pushed through the crowd and ran to her cubs. The great first hunter, terror of the galaxy, dropped to her knees and gathered all 3 of them in her arms. She held them tight, making sounds in the Rakari language that the translator could not process. Sounds of love and relief and pride. "My brave ones," she murmured. "My wonderful, brave ones." "Mother," Kira said quietly, "I think I understand now. Why we came here. Why we wanted something more than hunting. Tell me. It is better to hunt for someone than to hunt for yourself. It is better to protect than to destroy." Vorath pressed her forehead against her daughter's. "Yes," she breathed. "Yes, it is." Park Yuna watched this moment with tears streaming down her face. Beside her, Kim Do-hun stood with his arms crossed, but his eyes were soft. "Still think this was a bad idea?" Park Yuna asked. Kim Do-hun sighed. "I think nothing about humans makes sense. And I think that might be our greatest strength." In the corner, Junho still had not let go of Mox. The young Rakari did not seem to mind. "Next year," Junho said sleepily. "Can you teach me to hunt?" Mox's ears perked up. "I would like that very much." "Cool. It is a deal." And in the middle of chaos and blood and fear, a friendship was sealed. The kind of friendship that would change two species forever. The next morning, the entire station gathered in the main hall. No one was missing. No one was hiding in shelters. Every species stood together, filling the massive room from wall to wall. First Hunter Vorath stood on the raised platform at the center. Her cubs sat behind her, clean now, their fur brushed until it shone. The blood and exhaustion of the previous night were gone, but something new remained in their eyes. Something proud and peaceful. "Thank you for coming," Vorath began. Her deep voice carried through the silent hall. "I know many of you are still afraid of us. I do not blame you. My species has given the galaxy many reasons for fear." She paused and looked out at the crowd. Venari stood next to Torvians. Humans mixed with Gallians. Species that had been enemies. Species that had been prey and predator, all standing together. "For thousands of years," Vorath continued, "my people measured our worth by what we could kill. We hunted across stars. We took pride in the fear we caused. We believed that power meant taking, that strength meant destroying." Her golden eyes moved to her cubs. "My children showed me last night that we were wrong." Kira stood up and walked to stand beside her mother. The young Rakari was nearly as tall as the adults now, her fur dark as space, her eyes bright with intelligence. "We killed the Skrull," Kira said. Her voice was clear and steady. "We used our claws and teeth and all the hunting skills our ancestors gave us. But we did not hunt for food. We did not hunt for sport. We hunted to protect, to save the small ones who trusted us." In the crowd, Junho sat on his father's shoulders. Lee Taiho held his son carefully, still processing everything that had happened. When Kira mentioned the children, Junho waved happily. "Hi, Kira," he called out. A ripple of laughter moved through the crowd. Even Vorath's lips twitched in what might have been a smile. "Your strange festival taught us something," Vorath said, returning to her speech. "Halloween. A celebration of fear. But not the fear we knew. Not the cold fear that ends in death. This was different." She searched for words, her claws clucking softly on the platform. "Your people celebrate fear and then share sweets to make the fear sweet too. You dress as monsters and then laugh together. You teach your children that scary things can be safe things." She looked directly at Park Yuna, who stood near the front with tears in her eyes. "You took fear," Vorath said, "and made it into joy. My people spent thousands of years trying to find satisfaction in causing fear. We never succeeded. The emptiness always returned. But your species found the answer we could not see. Fear means nothing if it does not end in connection, in love, in friendship." Ambassador Trilix pushed through the crowd. The small Venari walked right up to the platform and looked up at Vorath, He had to tilt his head back very far to see her face. "First Hunter," he said. His voice shook but did not break. "I was afraid of you. I am still a little afraid. But I watched your cubs last night. I watched them protect our children with their lives." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small object. A Vanari candy, wrapped in silver paper. "This is for Mox, for saving my cousin's family. They were the tourists who were trapped." Mox bounded down from the platform and carefully took the tiny candy from Trilix's paw. The cub's paw could have crushed the Vanari like an insect. Instead, it moved with perfect gentleness. "Thank you," Mox said softly. "I am sorry I scared your people before." Trilix stared up at the massive young predator. Then, slowly, he reached out and patted Mox's leg. "Maybe being scared is not always bad," Trilix said. "Maybe sometimes it helps us find our courage." The crowd murmured with approval. Something was shifting in the room. Walls that had stood for centuries were beginning to crumble. Administrator Kim Do-eun stepped onto the platform. "I have an announcement," he said. "After last night's events and First Hunter Vorath's words, I am making Halloween an official station holiday. Every year, on October 31st, all species are invited to participate." Cheers erupted from the humans. Curious chattering came from the other species. Additionally, Kim Do-eun continued, "First Hunter Vorath has made a request. She has asked if Rakari cubs from the homeworld might be allowed to visit the station during Halloween, to experience what her children experienced, to learn what they learned." Vorath nodded. "I will return to my people with news of what happened here. I believe many families will want their cubs to know this feeling. The feeling of being scary and safe at the same time. Of hunting to protect rather than to kill. We welcome them," Kim Do-eun said. "All of them." 1 year later, Halloween returned to Harmony 7. The station was transformed. Every corridor was decorated. Every room had activities. The haunted hallway was twice as large, with 3 separate paths for different levels of scariness. And the Rakari came. Hundreds of them. Families from across the homeworld, bringing their cubs to experience the strange human holiday. The cubs ranged from tiny, just a few months old, to teenagers nearly adult size. All of them wore painted patterns on their fur. All of them carried bags for candy. Park Yuna stood on the observation deck, watching the chaos below. Beside her stood First Hunter Vorath, who was wearing something unusual. A witch's hat. It was purple and pointed, and it looked slightly ridiculous on the enormous predator. Vorath did not care. She loved it. "You started something wonderful," Vorath said, looking out at the celebration. "Look at them. My people, your people, all the peoples of the station. Playing together. Laughing together." "I just suggested a party," Park Yuna replied. "Your cubs did the hard work." Below them, Kira was leading a group of young Rakari and human children through the haunted hallway. She had taken to the role of big sister for the entire station. All the children adored her. Bren was at the candy distribution center with Han Seojin, helping to give out treats. He had discovered a passion for cooking and spent hours in the kitchen, learning to make both human and Rakari dishes. And Mox was exactly where Park Yuna expected him to be. Lee Junho, now 6 years old, sat on Mox's back as the young Rakari prowled through the decorated corridors. Both of them were howling with laughter, scaring other trick-or-treaters, and then collapsing into giggles. "They are best friends," Vorath observed. "They saved each other," Park Yuna said. "In different ways." Commander Grull walked past below them. The Torvian was wearing a costume, something he had sworn he would never do. He was dressed as the monster from an old Earth movie, with bolts on his neck and fake scars on his gray skin. "Commander," Vorath called down. "You look very frightening." Grull looked up. His stone face was impossible to read, but his voice was warm. First hunter. Your hat is festive. Thank you. Thank you. I am a witch. I noticed. Ambassador Trilix ran past with a group of Vanari children. They were dressed as tiny vampires, their big eyes even bigger with fake fangs in their mouths. They shrieked happily as a teenage Rakari jumped out to scare them, then chased a much larger creature down the corridor. Half the station evacuated last year, Park Yuna said, remembering. They thought we were crazy. They thought it was a death ritual. And now? Now they fight for spots in the haunted hallway. Vorath made a sound deep in her chest. It took Park Yuna a moment to realize it was laughter. Your species is still strange, Vorath said. But I have learned that strange is not bad. Strange can be wonderful. Strange can be exactly what the galaxy needs. She looked at Park Yuna directly, her golden eyes soft. Thank you, Park Yuna, for teaching my children, for teaching my people, for teaching me. Park Yuna smiled. Thank you for learning. Not everyone is brave enough to change. Below them, Junho's voice rang out through the station. Mox, let us go scare my sister. Yes, Mox replied eagerly. She screams very well. The two of them bounded off together, human and Rakari, small and large, different in every way, but united in something deeper. The station's official log was updated that night. Kim Doan wrote it himself, with a small smile on his face. Halloween celebration successful. 0 evacuations. Full participation. The hunter cat cubs have become station favorites. Plans already underway for next year's event. He paused, then added one more line. Note to all species. Humanity does not make sense. This is a feature, not a bug. He saved the log and closed his computer. Outside his office window, the party continued. Music and laughter and playful roars mixed together into something beautiful. Something new. Something that would spread across the galaxy, one Halloween at a time. The hunters had found something better than prey. They had found family,